Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Craig Fulton with Evergreen. We're here to talk about 2024 predictions. A lot of people are doing that right now, and we're excited to talk about it ourselves because, we have the luxury of sitting in a place where we get to talk to a lot of MSPs and we get to see a lot of trends. We talk to a lot of vendors as well in the space, and we can kind of feel like we see what might happen. So we want to jump into that. And I'm joined with Ramsey and Sydney. Say hi, Ramsey.
Hey, Craig.
How's it going,
Hey,
Sydney?
Craig.
All right. Brief intros. I love it. Let's get down to business. Look, and we're gonna try and keep this short, but let's bucketize it. I got 5 things I really want to talk about here. And Ramsey, I want to come right out of the gate with a tough one. Private equity backed platforms, right? When you look at what's going on in the MSP space, you have MSPs buying other MSPs. You've got M&A backers, holding companies like us buying to hold forever. And another option is you see private equity buying an MSP and then rolling a bunch into it to build one platform. What do you think is going to happen in 2024 there? A lot of people are asking.
Yeah, my big prediction is that you're going to see a lot of the private equity backed platforms that have been created over the last 5 or so years. You saw a slowdown in the creation of new platforms over the last year or so. And I think everybody was kind of in wait and see mode. And I think 2024 is going to be the year of a lot of those private equity backed platforms looking to sell, and they will either merge with other private equity backed platforms. You could see some kind of blockbuster mergers in 2024, or you could see the business going from one private equity firm to another. So I think this is going to be the year where I think you'll see some big companies that have been built over the last several years. You'll see some really important deals get done in 2024 that involve private equity. So it should be exciting.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see that shake things up. Sydney, anything to offer on that you have experience with?
I think it will just be a telling year when some of these transactions go through. There hasn't been many events like that so far. So a lot of business owners, MSP owners that have sold their MSPs have likely rolled equity into these strategies and, banked on a certain model and a certain return. And so I think it'll be a really informative year, what the reality of how these strategies has performed is and what that means for owners. And we'll probably start dictating some of the choices that business owners make about selling their business going forward.
Okay. All right. So I'll kind of along the same topic because, right, it's about, M&A expansion. Let's talk international because, at Evergreen, we're starting to look internationally. We got our first business over in London, the final step earlier this year. And we're starting to look down into Australia, New Zealand, what's going on down there. Sydney, firsthand experience. You spent a lot of time in the UK. What can you see that could happen in 2024 with M&A expansion, whether it's us or others?
It's a good question. It's a big question. I think we are very excited by the opportunity. We spent a lot of time mapping out what it could look like, and I think it's very positive to find that we think there's a huge opportunity there. Right. I think what's interesting is that our understanding is that the MSP market there is quite similar to that of the US, which is exciting from an opportunity standpoint, but also is more on the cusp of some things around cybersecurity penetration, the move to public cloud, some of these things that have already happened in the US that I think have been big growth drivers for our businesses haven't quite got a foothold there yet. So I think there's a huge opportunity in these businesses. It's going to be attractive to a lot of buyers. I also think that a lot of buyers, us included in the US, who have done well in the MSP space here, are the next natural phase is going to be expanding into other geographies. So it'll be interesting to see how that competition and M&A saturation, plays out in the UK, ANZ, and other markets.
Yeah, and speaking of the big private equity backed platforms, I think it's been interesting to see, like, will they start to break geographical boundaries? Because we see it like, there's a handful in the UK, there's a dozen or so in the United States. And, Ramsey, to you, right down in ANZ, you've been spending some time, we all have, but I'm throwing this to you. We see it down there. definitely a different dynamic down there, right? The businesses are structured a little bit different, but it seems like maybe 2024 might move rapidly. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I think kind of further to what Sydney said around the M&A market evolving there. I think in the peer groups, like if you look at IT Nation Evolve and you look at some of the other peer groups in the U.S., M&A has been so much at the forefront of
Right.
those groups, and there's been M&A content and everything. And I think as what we've seen internationally is that hasn't been as prevalent, and there's a desire for it. So I think you
Right.
could see a lot of the same trends that have happened over the last few years in the US around M&A start to go internationally. And then Sydney also mentioned the public cloud. We're especially in ANZ, we're seeing a lot of investment in that. And whether it's Azure and even AWS as well, which historically we haven't seen a lot of MSPs doing that in the US.
Right.
We're seeing a lot of that in Australia and New Zealand, which is really exciting, and it's something that we want to invest behind.
And to speak that too, right? That's going to be a great opportunity for managed service providers to do more, provide more value, but also very enticing for M&A, right? When you see them start to expand into that, it's just more room for growth in the business.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump right now. We're going to switch gears here. The question everybody keeps asking: interest rates, valuations. What's going to happen? Everybody's watching the news. Oh, mortgage prices and interest rates, and like, hey, what does that mean for business? So I'll throw it to you first, Sydney. What do you think? What's it looking like?
Yeah, I mean, interest rates fundamentally drive a lot of the spending behavior in our economy across the board. And the same thing applies to private equity firms and other buyers that want to spend money to buy businesses. The cost of doing that is more expensive when interest rates are high. So, if interest rates go down, that likely suggests that you'll see more of an uptick in activity. It's less expensive to finance deals. I think there's the interest rate question that's tied to valuation on that front, but just valuation itself is sort of a separate topic. I think there's, sellers always want to know, what their business is worth, what valuations look like. I think there's, for better or for worse, less volatility than all the chatter around it makes it seem like there is. I would say over the past year, we've seen valuations remain relatively constant, and I don't necessarily expect that to change, monumentally over the next year. I think you see movement around the edges, and in extreme cases, but not expecting a seismic shift on that front.
Yeah, and those of you tuned in, you might want to check out our other video where we talk about the macroeconomic impact on valuations. We get into a little more detail on that. But Ramsey, what do you think? Valuations. People think, oh man, interest rates coming down, great. Valuations are going to go up. Already talking about the housing market, so people naturally think it's probably the same thing.
Yeah, what was interesting about the interest rates going up recently, like over the past year and a half, is it didn't have a huge impact on valuations. I think I underestimated the impact that it would have. I think we all did. And I think it's just a reflection of, I think MSPs have been resilient and they've performed really well, and so valuations have held up really nicely. And so I think you might start seeing interest rates come down a little bit, not as quickly as they went up. So I'm kind of expecting, like, we're not changing our valuation framework for MSPs going into 2024, and I think a lot of buyers are in a similar boat. So I think the reality is, if you have an MSP with $1 million or so of EBITDA, those businesses are being valued in the 6 to 8 times EBITDA range. So just to come out and say it, that's my prediction, is that's going to continue.
Okay. All right. I'm going to throw another one out there, but more of a curveball, more technical in the MSP space, because we go to a lot of events. You'll see us at IT Nation. You'll see us at Kaseya Connect, DattoCon, TruePeer. We're out there. I think what we saw in 2023 was the headline change from, hey, cybersecurity to artificial intelligence. Not that cybersecurity is done, a lot more work to do there, but I think that AI can have a big impact on business valuations because, and for me, it's a little personal because I was a tech. I think over the years, right, whenever we're talking to companies and digging into financials, it's like, how efficient are you at delivering a good and services? Like, because we want to see what can the future growth look like, and what we can try to predict and what risk we see, and that drives the valuation ultimately. What I'm thinking is people got to get really good at putting the AI in there so they could do more managed services with less people. And luckily for me, I got to see, when I got into tech, it was like, Craig, you got to support 100 computers, 150 people, right? Managed services came around. Here comes an RMM tool. Hey, now you can do 250, 300. It's gonna be interesting to see, AI, like what's that expectation going to be? Because we all know more things are getting plugged into the internet. That just means more things to manage, more things that have cybersecurity issues, more risk. So I think AI is going to have to be that thing that comes to the rescue so that companies can continue to grow and get the great valuations. Is this something, throw it out to either one of you that want to take this. Is this something that you're asking companies about already?
It's something that's really important, in my opinion. I think AI, assuming MSPs can deliver value to their customers to maintain or grow their pricing over time, assuming it's not deflationary for pricing, AI is a huge opportunity for value creation, because profitability and EBITDA is what drives value. And to the extent that you can generate more revenue or the same amount of revenue and much reduced costs, it's a big value creation opportunity for MSPs. So I think it's also still early innings though, and there haven't been a lot of people that have kind of harnessed AI in service of MSPs yet to get that really going in a lot of businesses. But so that's my take on that one.
So I'd say if you're an AI company tuned in right now, you want to say things like this to people to get them to use it. Sydney, what about you? Anything?
Yeah, I mean, I just think that whether we like it or not, it's coming and it's going to be impactful. So in the same way that it's pretty shocking to see a business that's 100% break fix now, that 10 years ago was standard. Now it's the expectation that a good portion of your business is contractual monthly recurring revenue. I think that will happen with AI. Like, it's going to be a non-starter for being a leading MSP. That may not be now or even in 4 or 5 years, but it probably will be in 10. And so it's in everyone's best interest to lean in and at least start exploring it, because I think it's going to be a game changer.
Right. Awesome. All right. Well, y'all heard it here from 2 great industry leaders. Excited to share this with everybody. Thank you, Sydney. Thanks, Ramsey. Hope everybody tuned in, has a great rest of the year. And remember, 2024, get focused on these things. And if I say this so many times, never forget to get focused on your experience, right? No matter what's going on, deliver a better experience, focus on helping your customers grow, be secure, be productive, and competitive. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Craig.
Thanks, Craig.